Hello, hello, hello. This is your man, Nicholas Shepherd from the Shepherd Family Enterprise, Business Administration and Information Systems Consultants. And what I'm here today is I'm here to discuss a couple of things that happened during this week. I have not been able to record anything because I have been running into a couple of situations. Some of the situations really within my control, but the thing is that I basically you know, started doing some other things. I know this thing here is like, I don't know. My backboard right here is kind of doing its own thing right now. Um, anyway, what I'm trying to do really is I'm trying to set some things up. And basically, um, I've been working on my project management database. And as I was working on it, I discovered that there are a couple of things that I should have been doing that I wasn't doing. Okay. Number one, um, I have these different subject matters that I talk about, which is series, which is, um, the topic is how to have a business mindset. And, you know, I've been going through some family things, and that was very serious, and um, so my mind have not been on in the right area because there's a lot of things going on. Um, so basically, what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch this whole discussion um, over to another area. I'm going to switch it over to state. So the reason why I'm going to do this is because there are some things going on, right, in our society and amongst us that shouldn't be happening. Okay. Um, I found out that there are some things that we should have, I should have known, right? But I didn't know because of the fact that I just wasn't um, in a position to give out such information. All right. Um, I'm not going to really discuss the personal issue that I was actually involved in, but what I will do is I will go over some things concerning what um, you need to look out for. Okay. Um, some of these things are really based on um, people's behavior. Okay. Um, I want you to understand something, all of you. Okay. You need to be aware of what's going on around you. Okay. There are some things going on. Okay. And I'm going to say in America, but I know it's going on all over around the world. But I know for a fact that the extremities, the extremeness of the matter basically happens in this country, right? And okay, and I'm trying to be social about this and respectable because I know this is a very touchy subject when it comes to dealing with um, dealing with both sexes. Um, because we have the different movements and everything like that, the women's right movement, the gay movement, Black Lives Matter. We have the other different things are going on with the European Americans and African Americans and the Chinese Americans, Spanish Americans, all that. There's a lot of stuff going on. This is all political, right? Now, besides that, okay, there is a fight. You understand? Between men and women on a psychological level in this country, okay? And it is a disease that's tearing us apart. The reason why I'm saying this is because there's something happened, okay, in my family, not my immediate family, but my family environment that was it was so awful, okay? And it just didn't happen in my family, but I've seen the trend in this behavior. And it has a lot to do with men, all right? Now, I have been explaining to a lot of people, all right? And like I said, this is a touchy subject, all right? And I'm trying to be as innocuous as I can about it and not be too specific as far as what I'm talking about. But some of you with a higher intelligence may know where I'm going with this. I'm going to go back to one of my earlier videos, right? And I'm not going to play it. I would like to look for it so I can pretty much put it on the board, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not using the State of Awareness Volume 3 environment. I'm using the State of Awareness Volume 2. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to wind up stopping this video, right? And I am going to once I stop this video, I'm going to I got to create another environment where I can find the video and try to put something together because some of you really don't understand exactly the war that's going on between the man and the woman on earth, okay? And it's a spiritual war, all right? And I know that, you know, the evil one or the deceiver is the one that's pushing this effort. And there's no way that a person, I don't care man or woman, should put their hands on another person out of anger, especially someone you love, okay, or supposedly supposed to have or should have loved. Women, let me explain something to you. Stop raising young male children to be so, the word I'm looking for is so, um, I'm trying to find the right word. And I want to say it, just bluntly say it, but I want to put the right word on it. Well, you you're raising these young boys to be so, like sensitive, all right, to everything that he hears and sees, okay? It's okay for a male child to love and understand, but a male child is supposed to be mentally and physically strong. Okay? He's not supposed to think like a woman at all. When a male starts thinking like a woman, he becomes violent. Okay? Because he started utilizing his emotions as a factor to lash out. Okay? Men are not supposed to argue. Men are supposed to go to war. All right? Women is supposed to comfort. Men is supposed to gather. You understand? We're supposed to be able to sit down and talk about our differences. Now, when you put a woman involved in a man's persuasions and ideals and conversations, his aggressions, a woman tends to try to soften things up, like try to take away the extreme measures that a man may have to face if things doesn't go his way. Okay? But there must be negotiations. All right? And the negotiation should benefit both sides of the man's conversation. Now, if I'm talking to you, okay? If I'm talking to you and you don't agree with me and you're a woman, I don't care what the discussion is about. I should never have to raise my hand up against you and strike you, okay? If a man gets angry at a woman, there should be an outlet besides violence against her. Now, women, stop provoking your men to anger. Most of you know what makes your male counterpart angry. Women, stop dating mama's boys, okay? Especially the ones that's trying to make a name for themselves out here on the streets. You're not going to win. It's not going to end nicely. He's going to be violent. He's going to be possessive. He's going to be intrusive. All the different things that lead to your demise, the factors are going to be there. Okay? Most men that beat women, cuss women out, holler at them, manipulate them, embarrass them out in public, whatever the situation may be, don't know how to negotiate with the woman, do not know how to, pick a woman to be his mate, his bride, his forever love, then he's gonna go off in those directions. It would take a woman, and I'm not talking about any type of woman, okay, a woman that's been properly groomed by a properly groomed woman to understand the fact that in order for a man to humble himself to a woman, the woman must produce the ideal in his head that she will and has to be submissive to him. Now, I'm not talking about all women, and I'm not talking about all women should be that way to men. I'm talking about to the man that she loves, the man that she's bound to marry. But the man is supposed to love her to beyond all means. Okay? He must commit himself to her and must understand he should never provoke violence against her. Knowing this, women should feel safe under his dominion. A woman should feel safe under his protective hands. A woman should never fear while she's in his presence. Not the one she loves, not the one he loves. Do you understand? If a woman meet a man and he is fatherless, it either go one or two ways. Either go very good or very bad. I was raised in the beginning of my years by my dad. Okay? And even though my mother and my father divorced, okay, because of reasons between them both that caused it, okay, it wasn't just my dad, it wasn't just both of them did things to each other. I viewed them. I've seen it. Okay, both of them did things that they thought no one saw that led to them to divorce. Okay, now even though my father was not around me, his presence was always known. Because if my mother called him up and said something to him about me, I was going to be in trouble. He would come over and whoop me. You understand? I became a rebellious child because I figured that my father was in the house. So what I used to do, I was to run away. Okay? Because the whoopings my father would give me, okay, left an unforgettable impression in my mind. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I knew what I was doing wrong. You know, I knew I was fooling around. I thought it was slick, right? But my father always came and and tried to figure out what was going on with us. He came up to our school different times without notice. He'd come in and he would look in the classroom, man, and watch me. And I would turn around and see my dad staring at me. Sometimes I'd be screwing off, and he would whoop me for that. Okay, so I learned to be very disciplined because I always felt that my dad was watching. Okay, I always thought my dad was watching. All right. Now, as I got older, as a young man, I knew in my heart, in my mind, that I needed a man to guide me. I need advice. So whenever older man talked to me about manhood and about companionship, about women, I will sit down and listen to him. And I'm not talking about women, talking about some, taking advantage of women. I heard this, I grew up in the 70s, you know what I'm saying? There was a lot of guys out there talking about pimping and this and that, I've seen this and that. But I was never really personally exposed to those type of environments because most of the guys that was into that, they looked at us as very respectable young men. Because a lot of them knew my dad, okay, and knew the environment I kept. They knew I wasn't a bad boy, because I just didn't do the things that a lot of the bad boys did. And so they pretty much protected us, you know what I'm saying? They did. They pretty much protect us, protect me and my brother, you know. And I was a bad one. I was the one that went astray. I'm the one that got off into, gangs and, got into, the drug organizations and stuff like that, and in Detroit, and became a member of one of the known drug organizations, in Detroit. And even before they even existed, what I'm saying, you know, the crew that I was part of, I was one of the third ones down, what I'm saying, as far as heart, what I'm saying, I was a top dog, what I'm saying, but I wasn't the man to man, but, I was up there with the top four, okay? And if I said something, man, what I'm saying, it went down. You understand? If I said something, it went down. And if anyone disrespected me, I was watching for them the next time. You understand? So my whole analogy of things is men have to be men. Okay. Now, throughout my years of growing up into manhood, was I involved in situations regarding women, young girls? Okay, when I was young myself, you know what I'm saying? Even me and the criminals I was with, or whatever, with gangs and stuff like that, and bringing in women. Was I ever involved in any type of exploitation of women? Yes, I was. What I'm saying. Was the initiator? No, I wasn't. You know, I never initiated anything. I'm talking like if something was involving women and men, is because someone else initiated it and I partook in it. You understand? But everything was what they call it. It was like um when a person say, okay, I'm gonna do this. Okay, so the woman always partook in the activities that we were in. We never made her do anything. And it was either hanging out with us on out in the streets, going to a club, jumping on somebody for us, jumping on a woman for us, because these women disrespected us, whatever the situation was. We never had to put our hands on a woman. Never did we ever have to put our hands on a woman. If a woman was acting up, we had always had another woman to take care of our business for us. You understand? You know, this is the reason why I don't understand why, these women raise these boys to be so soft and so intimidated by women, that the fact that they have to put their hands on them. If a woman can intimidate a man, that man is weak as hell. He's weak as hell, believe me. A woman should never be able to intimidate a man. A man should look at that and let it brush off his shoulder. Well, hey, I don't care what she say to you. I don't know what I'm saying. If the guys fucking cheering for her, they some weak ass motherfuckers too, man. I'm being honest with you, man. If a woman disrespect a man and men cheer her on, they are weak as hell. They must have put on dresses too, because a man would never allow another woman to intimidate or deface a man in front of men. Okay, you understand that? I'm not saying you put your hands on anything like that, but there should be no roaring like you just got a touchdown. You understand? You understand what I'm talking about? I'm talking about his wife. Okay, I mean, I'm talking about some strange woman. Well, get the hell out of here. You know what I'm saying? That's different. I'm talking like it's someone that he has a relationship with. Okay, trying to disrespect him in front of all of you. All right, she should feel so small for doing that. Okay, and the men should have the man's back that she's saying this to. You understand? And there should be women that chastise her for doing it. All this used to be, okay? But it's not happening. That's the reason why these young boys, okay, I don't care how they can be the age from 15 to 38, 15 to 45, okay, that is the reason why these young boys get to a point where they feel that they got to lift their hands up against a woman because they feel that this woman has disrespected them to a point where he had to take this woman's life, had to beat her up or do whatever the situation is. You know what I'm saying? That's unheard of. I said that's very silly. You understand? We're not living in that type of culture. And some of you aren't even Muslims, man. Muslims wouldn't even do that. And in that country, Islamic country, in that culture, that's part of their culture. You know what I'm saying? Chastise discipline a woman. You know what I'm saying? If she violates a man's a possession in his culture. You understand? But in this country, in the Western world, okay, it's just not supposed to happen, man. It's not supposed to happen, man. I'm talking like, we have to bond it. Man, we have to start policing our own men. Okay, we have to start policing our own men, our own young boys. You understand? Stop letting your child do crazy stuff. All right, and then when another man, respectable man, or a man, a respectable man, say something to your child, okay, out of faith and integrity, you shouldn't be correcting this man. I'm talking like this, first of all, it's to be like, okay, what did he do wrong? Once that man explains to you what he saw your child, your male child, your man child have done, you should take that child home and have a conversation with him. You understand? That's where the grooming process comes in. That's when you're supposed to be talking to your son. That's when you're supposed to be educating him. That's when you're supposed to be mentoring him. That's when you're supposed to give him right guidance. That's when you're supposed to discipline him. Okay? So that when he grow up, he grows up with a sound mind. He grow up knowing that, you know what, I know how to handle this situation. I know how to handle that situation. Okay? But we all have to do this together. Seriously, we all have to do this together. Um, um, we have to police our men. Okay, I'm told like I was in the military, right? And I've been all around the world. I've been all through, throughout my life. I've seen over 1,000 dead bodies, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking like all different positions, all different type of things. You know what I'm saying? Um, Kids, old people. You know what I'm saying? Car accident people are car accidents. Dead, man. Dead, man. People dying in their sleep, was in the house weeks, pull them out of their house. You know what I'm saying? Look, you go in their house, they just decomposing, man. Maggots all over, man. No one even checked on them, man. Do you understand what I'm saying? No one even knew that it was in the home rotting. They old. They're sitting in a house rotting in their apartment, man, and no one even took. Is no, it just baffles me, man, that a person is not checking up on people, man. We talk about our people, man, our people. Okay, I don't know what's going on, man. You know, I don't know what's going on with our people, our African American people, man. We shouldn't be like this. I'm serious. We shouldn't be like this, man. See, we are so concerned about what European Americans have that we forgetting what we have. Do you know African? Now, people say, "Well, I'm not African. I'm American." Yeah, okay. Well, you American, okay. You know what I'm saying? But you're a descendant of Africa. You understand? When God put man on this planet, He did not put him in America first. Okay, they put him in Africa. They was in Africa. Everyone's a descendant of Africa. Okay, you are American through right. You understand? And what I mean by right, because somewhere down the line, either your ancestor came here by themselves, right, looking for a better opportunity, and there are Africans here that's that way, right? I'm not saying those individuals. There's some of them that were kidnapped and brought here, right? And some of them was born into slavery, and that's the reason why they're here. You understand? We're not talking about those individuals. We talk about the ones after that, all right? There are books, historical books. Do you know there are African Americans, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to say men. There are African American men out there that refuse to research and learn the truth about their own culture. Okay? They're afraid, man. These people, these African men are actually afraid, man. They just throw their whole the skin is dark, man. I'm saying, okay, you descending from Africa. You know what I'm saying? You are descending from that region, okay, being dark. You're not descendant, you know what I'm saying? Your heart, your DNA is from there. You're not, you know, highly complex. You know what I'm talking about? You're not of a higher complexion. You wasn't in the northern part of Africa and into the northern part hemisphere of the world. You were not. You know what I'm saying? The reason why you dark because your ancestors come from a certain region on Earth that was hot. Okay? You got that? You know what I'm saying? That's the reason why you're dark. So if you're dark, that's the region you come from, right? And I'm talking about that region. And the region that I'm referring to is what? What region do you think I'm referring to? Hmm? Tell me, what region do you think I'm referring to? Yes, Africa. Okay? We are descendants of this. Okay? Pick one. Pick an area. Pick an area where you think you are from. You understand? We're descendants of that. Okay? In one of my previous videos, I did a comparison, as far as where Africa is in Europe and the United States. Okay? If you look at the globe, they make it look like Africa America the same size. That's bullshit, man. United States is not the same size as Africa. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna find something, right? I'm gonna look out here on the internet, and I'm gonna do, and it says to scale, and I'm gonna find this thing, and I'm gonna have to stop the video so that I can add this part, right? I'm gonna make sure that I'm in the right area though, because I want to make sure I'm in the right database. My right database. My right database. Nope, that's not it. I want to be in the right database. I mean, the right environment because I got a couple of environments that I'm in, and I want to talk in that environment. I don't want to talk in any other environment but the environment I want to be in. So this is it. So this is it. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna stop my video. I'm gonna pause my video, and then I'm going to come back on so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. Stand by. Okay. So I went on and got it going on. Okay. So I'm going to the site, right? And the site is going to show you exactly um, the the resemblance, all right, of Africa compared to, um, you know, United States, right? So this is National Geographic, so they're pretty accurate, right? You know what I'm saying? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna look at this, and we want to see how big is Africa, okay, in comparison of the United States, right? So, and this right here like a kitty page. Okay, so I don't even know why they did that. Let me go back. So at ages 3 to 6, that's two, you know. But they have another one. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm gonna look at this. Okay, and see if we can stop video. Let's see if we can load this up. Okay. All right. So they say compared to the United States, Africa is this size. Now, the United States is pretty. It's not big as Africa. That's all I'm saying. Okay. And they were showing another map, right? And they were showing Africa to scale, right? Um. So they were saying to scale. Okay, it says that it's Africa 4 times the size of the U.S. It says that the African continent has a landmass of 30.37 million square millimeters. It says 11 million seven, 11 million and 7 million square miles, enough to fit in the United States, China, Japan, okay, India, Mexico, and many European nations combined. Okay, so what they're saying, okay, and I'm gonna see if we can get this bigger. Okay, so what they're saying here, and I'm gonna see, go ahead and make this smaller. I'm trying to get it so that it's all on the. No, that's too small. So what they're saying, okay, you see all these. See how big Africa is. It can get United States in there, China, just about all of China in there, all of India, all of Europe in there at the same time. And the reason why they're trying to, you know, get rid of all these Africans in here, because they know, okay, if these Africans come up to scale and unify themselves and become one nation, we're gonna be in big trouble. Okay, because the first thing they're gonna do, they're gonna try to increase their population. You understand? If they create their population and wealth, there's nothing the world can do with them. They used to be that way before everyone migrated to these countries that you see they put in here. They start migrating, okay, to other places. So that's just telling you what's going on. All right. So African continent has a land of this, okay, enough to fit in the United States, all these areas, right? So it's pretty big, man. Okay, it's 30.37 million, and you put all these countries together, man, and it's still smaller than Africa. You understand? Still smaller. Look, it's 11. All these areas together, they don't have Africa in here. It's 11. You see what I'm saying? It's 11.71 million square miles. So Africa has 99.9% of the landmass. So 11.7 million square miles. Now you go figure that out. They added up all these numbers. They got 1171. You have to add all these countries together, landmass up, to equate to Africa's landmass. And all these countries have a different culture and understanding that's going on. And all of these countries here are trying to get into Africa and get their resources. There's a lot of resources here, minerals in Africa that they're trying to get. Okay, so that is one thing. All right, so and the reason why I'm saying I mentioned that because you got a lot of people out there they don't believe they don't believe that Africa um they don't believe Africa um you know has the resources, man. You understand? They just don't believe it. They don't believe Africa has the resources. So if Africa don't have the resources, okay, if Africa don't have the resources, why are they there? Okay, because if you look at seriously, if you look at you know all the different things Africa has, and the reason why I'm saying this because I'm saying this for only one reason, right? I'm saying this because you know by looking at the Africa itself, right? Everything that Africa has to offer, anything like that. Like I say, it has the iron, the oil, and all the other different things so that that's out there. Um, you got to understand one thing, man. You got to say, okay, they got the iron, they got cotton, they got uranium, they got all these different things out here. Okay, if they have all these things, man, why do they need to go outside of Africa for anything? You understand? They can grow their own stuff, man. If other countries stop coming there dumping their garbage here, man. You know. So there's a different culture, right? So that's it in a nutshell. So my whole thing is this, right? And I only did that just to stress one point. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to, you know, uh, uh, um, I'm not trying to, create any type of, uh, um, you know, any major point, anything like that. But I'm just saying is that, those you that call yourselves not African, you know what I'm saying, and you American, possibly you are, okay? Perhaps you are Indian, okay? You 100% Indian, all right, and probably 2% African, because the Indians were black, and that's the only reason why they come with the word black or color, because they were darker than the Europeans that came over here. They weren't calling Africans black at that time, or color. They was not calling them that color. You know what I'm saying? And they weren't called Negro because Negro is the Spanish word for black. Okay, you understand? They inherited them words, all right, from other countries because they didn't know no better. All right, like Negro. You know what I'm saying? That's the Spanish word for a male, black. For you know what I'm saying? And negra is the female word for black, right? You know what I'm saying? Black person. You know what I'm saying? Or dark skinned person. But you have to understand is that I was looking at some things on the internet, and it was talking about how Eisenhower changed the whole historical history. Okay, let me see here. Let me go here and say, how did Eisenhower change history? Okay, I gotta do that again. How did Eisenhower change history? And also created the Department of Health, Education, those days, Department of Health Services. It was created in 1979. Okay, I'm trying to look for something, right? Um, and I'm trying to say, let me see, when did President Eisenhower rewrite history? Rewrite history to what is actually the truth. And I'm trying to find some stuff. They got a lot of stuff hidden. You know what I'm saying? Um, I seen some documentations about it, so that you know. But they said that Eisenhower actually, he wrote history, right? And I think it was in a video. I'm quite sure it was in a video. Let me see if I can find it. Um, Let me see. It might not be in this because I didn't put it in this one. Let's see. Boo. Sorry, it's not in this one. I'm trying to find some things. Sorry, you know. Um, and it's not in this particular setting, so I have to go to another area to get it. Let me see. Yeah, here it is. Bear with me, please. Bear with me. Okay, so um, and it was shocking, right, when I found out this, and it's amazing how people was allowed to do certain things, because they was in charge, right? But it's cool. Um, a lot of things gonna deception, slavery. So I'm looking at think they have an 8. I think they have an 8. I'm trying to see something right quick. Hold on.
There is a myth that persists within the psyche of most anyone who has ever considered history for themselves. This myth has clouded any chance for anyone to view events from the past with any enlightened contextual perspective. It seems as though when people think of European colonization during the Age of Discovery, the racial lines between the European, the African, and the American have already been drawn in our mindset. The white Caucasian conquered and exterminated the Mongoloid American and transplanted the Negro African into America for the sole purpose of slavery. And this narrative is academically attested to by all reputable institutions of so called higher. Quote from the official history of Freemasonry among colored people in North America.
And we're gonna take a look at this.
According to the customs and regulations of our ancient brethren, every candidate is required to be a freeman born of a free woman. This formula was originally considered to be an unchangeable landmark. But on the extinction of Negro slavery in the West Indies by the British Parliament, the following arguments were used at a Grand Lodge meeting September 1st, 1847, in favor of this alteration. The Grand Master requested the brethren to consider the propriety of remodeling the form by which a candidate for initiation declared himself to be freeborn. There are, he said, at present moment many men in Jamaica.
I'll see
The
something.
Virginia hordes massacred men, women, and children of the Virginia tribes. Many were captured and sent to the West Indies, while others were put to hard labor on tobacco plantations in Virginia and Maryland. Similar to the plantation in Talbot County, Maryland, the birthplace of Frederick Douglass, whose plantation owner was an Englishman and the governor of colonial Maryland. Rise up and walk. You've been blessed this day. You've been blessed. Rise up and walk. You've been blessed this day. The wars between the colonists and the tribes of Virginia were the first real battles to take place in the present day United States,
What I
in
want to
which
do, I want to
Europeans
find
successfully colonized.
the um
But it must
the
be
part
understood
where
that these colonists
they
essentially
were talking about
employed guerrilla
Eisenhower.
strategy under the cover
Um,
of trade. In
they're
Virginia, the
talking
slave
about
traders and
Masons,
planters were essentially large gang.
and I just want to make sure the information that I'm
This
displaying.
series is dedicated to Brother Steve Coakley. Now, when we went to the temple, we were asking for all kind of books that they didn't want to sell us. See, when you come in, they say, "Are you a Mason?" We said, "Oh no, we're not." In fact, we say very clearly, we're of a higher order. See, I use on my logo something that looks like an eye in the keyhole. So when they get to talking stuff one way, we just show out and say, "Oh no, we from a higher order." They get to, "Well, what's that eye?" Well, they into these eyes. They be watching you when you start doing things beyond what they understand. So you just flash it and pull it back.
I'm trying to figure see is this it?
For this DNA propaganda is to push the false historical narrative of all black Americans being from Africa for the purposes of countering our will to claim what is rightfully ours.
Well, when I went to Harvard in 1991, I raised money to count the slaves. There were a group of scholars who were trying to count the number of Africans brought to the New World, the entire New World, in the slave trade. And some were in Liverpool, some were in Angola, some were in Cuba, some were in Brazil, all these scholars. And someone came to me and said, if you raise money, that you could bring these people together, it would be historic. And that's what we did. The result, you could go home and look at it. It's free online. It's called the Transatlantic Slave Trade Database. And these scholars looked at 36,000 voyages of slave ships. It was capitalism. So the records were there. It was property, right? And those records are still there. And guess what? They counted 12.5 million Africans shipped between 1502 and 1867 to the New World. 12.5 million, 15% about died in the Middle Passage. So let's say 11.2 million, we know, Africans, our ancestors, got off the slave ships in the New World. Here's the amazing fact. Of that 11.2 million, only 450,000 came to the United States. Only 450,000 Africans came to the United States between 1619 and, well, the end of slavery was 1865, but most of 99% of the slaves were here by 1820. All the rest, over 10.5 million, went to places essentially south of San Diego, Texas, and Miami.
Although Gates is one of the largest proponents of African ancestry, he himself has written about the relatively small amount of African slaves brought to North America in comparison to slaves placed in other areas. In fact, a direct quote from Gates states that only about 388,000 slaves were shipped directly to North America, which is estimated less than 5% of total Africans shipped through the transatlantic slave trade. These are the accounted numbers of African slavery between the years of 1525 and 1866, a span of approximately 341 years, which means annually, on average, just over 1,000 slaves from Africa actually made it to mainland North America. To further complicate these surprisingly small numbers of Africans in North America is the surprisingly large numbers of Negroes in America.
Okay,
who are presumed to be of African descent. So if according to the top African of Negroes in America
Got off the slave ships in the New World. Here's the amazing fact.
As with anything else, money, power, control. Fact: Native American tribes are discouraged from sharing their DNA with any research company, and nearly all tribes have declined participation in such studies. Imagine millions more people claiming indigenous heritage, and think about the amount of money, land, and resources
the federal government would have to commit to those people on their behalf. But at its root, the true reason for this DNA propaganda is to push the false historical narrative of all Black Americans being from Africa for the purposes of countering our will to claim what is rightfully ours.
Well, when I went to Harvard in 1991, I raised money to count the slaves. There were a group of scholars who were trying to count the number of Africans brought to the New World, the entire New World in the slave trade. And some were in Liverpool, some were in Angola, some were in Cuba, some were in Brazil, all these scholars. And someone came to me and said, if you raise money, that you could bring these people together, it would be historic. And that's what we did. The result, you could go home and look at it. It's free online. It's called the Transatlantic Slave Trade Database. And these scholars looked at 36,000 voyages of slave ships. It was capitalism. So the records were there. It was property, right? And those records are still there. And guess what? They counted 12.5 million Africans shipped between 1502 and 1867 to the New World. 12.5 million, 15% about died in the Middle Passage. So let's say 11.2 million, we know, Africans, our ancestors, got off the slave ships in the New World. Here's the amazing fact. Of that 11.2 million, only 450,000 came to the United States. Only 450,000 Africans came to the United States between 1619 and, well, the end of slavery was 1865, but 99% of the slaves were here by 1820. All the rest, over 10.5 million, went to places essentially south of San Diego, Texas, and Miami.
Although Gates is one of the largest proponents of African ancestry, he himself has written about the relatively small amount of African slaves brought to North America in comparison to slaves placed in other areas. In fact, a direct quote from Gates states that only about 388,000 slaves were shipped directly to North America, which is estimated less than 5% of total Africans shipped through the transatlantic slave trade. These are the accounted numbers of African slavery between the years of 1525 and 1866, a span of approximately 341 years, which means annually, on average, just over 1,000 slaves from Africa actually made it to mainland North America. To further complicate these surprisingly small numbers of Africans in North America is the surprisingly large numbers of Negroes in America, who are presumed to be of African descent. So if, according to the top African scholar and database, only 388,000 Africans total made it to North America, what's to account for the dramatic spike in population among Negro slaves in the South between the years of 1790 and 1860? These numbers suggest that the African slave population had multiplied by 10 times. So the obvious question should be asked: what was the birth and mortality rate of a slave in the late 1700s? Well, as expected, the birth rate was extremely low and the mortality rate extremely high. Most women miscarried their unborn child due to the inherent physical strain that forced manual labor in treacherous seasonal conditions puts on a woman's body. As well, most women preferred to miscarry rather than to birth a child into a life of pain and captivity. In addition to the excessively low birth rate of enslaved captives was the extremely high mortality rate among the enslaved. Male slaves were worked like farm animals for their entire lives until their bodies gave out and were no longer to physically perform manual tasks. Then they were simply taken out back and murdered once they were no use to their masters. For male slaves, this happened around the age of 25, if they were lucky enough to live that long. Because according to records, the life expectancy of a male slave was around 23 years old, and the life expectancy of a female slave was a bit longer, due to the fact that some women worked domestic duties that weren't as physically strenuous as working in the field, therefore allowing them to live longer lives. However, these extremely short life expectancies and high mortality rates are in direct contradiction to the increased slave numbers in the South. At no point during captivity were enslaved peoples ever multiplying in numbers via new birth rates. So how could numbers of slaves increase if they weren't being born on the plantation and not being newly shipped from Africa after 1808? We can clearly see the increase in population, but that population cannot be related to normal population growth or the arrival of new Africans. So where did these 4 million new people come from? Of course, they were already here and being forcibly removed from their homelands by the invading heathens from Europe. From the earliest remnants of the earliest colonies to survive, such as Jamestown, and until the Civil War, indigenous Indians were being conquered, captured, and reclassified into the words and hands of their enemies. And the word American takes on a totally new image than its original personification. Villages and take their land. Missionaries were
so I didn't really find the information concerning Eisenhower. I just wanted to see if I could find it. How President Eisenhower changed history and rewrote it and all this stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? I was trying to see if I could find that. But, you know,
if this thing be accomplished, may we rule the earth forever.
so what did he say?
By the year 1832. These people, often dismissed as savages by Christians, were uncaringly exterminated as a matter of sport. And this information spread across the upper levels of society. Measures had to be taken to ensure the public would remain unaware that the Indians were indeed the lost tribes of Israel.
Okay, so that's that. Okay, and I'm gonna play this last portion so that you can hear it. What they said.
First era of colonialization was that the Indians who lived in the Americas were Hebrew. This wasn't just apparent to the priests and missionaries that traveled with conquistadors. It was obvious through their rites and customs and languages. It was often observed that the Indians spoke language that resembled Hebrew. This was subsequently proven by pre-Columbian linguists who say many of the native languages of the American continent were indeed rooted in Hebrew. Quote, "Their singing and dancing in 3 circles around their sacred fire appears to have been reference to a like religious custom of the Hebrews. End quote. The name that the people of the land used to personify the great primordial spirit was the title Yohewah, which was more completely rooted in Hebrew than the title Jah or Jehovah, since the letter J didn't exist in the original Hebrew and phonetically sounds completely different than the phonetical pronunciation of Y. Going even deeper, the people of Israel were passionately dedicated to ordinances of their fathers and
I'm gonna stop this, okay, because I want to find out some other things. The things I want to find out isn't really that I really actually wanted to talk about. Um, I'm just trying to get everyone mind set, okay, as far as the men, you know what I'm saying, that we basically been misguided, okay, and we've been misguided to believe one thing. And you know, and most of our women are perpetuating this lie because they feel that if they don't teach the lie to the African man, African American man, the descendant of Africa's children, this lie, then you know they won't be entitled to the benefits that the European head um, would actually offer them. Okay, or they'd be excluded, right? So my whole thing is this: we must understand, we must learn that we have to work together. All right, we really do. Right, we need to stop fooling around and trying to come up with some type of an ideal. Um, like I explained before, um, I have an ideal. Okay, and ideal that I have is what I initially brought into existence, and um, that is where did I go? I gotta go here first. I took some things out, right, and I brought some things in. So my thing is that there's a lot of different things going on. So what we need to do is to figure out, where we're gonna do the things we're gonna do, and we need to figure out how we're gonna get things done because there's a lot of things happening, and we missing out on a lot of things, right? So that's about it, right? So provoke anything other than what I already described. Um, there's some things that I know that we have to look at, and sooner or later we'll figure out a lot of things. But right now, the only way we're gonna figure out some of these things if we, um, sit down and try to evaluate where we're going and where we have been. Okay. Um, so you have to read, number one. All right. You have to read. And the reason why I played the video is to show you exactly where we are. You know what I'm saying? Where we're supposed to be and where we belong on this earth. Okay. Don't be deceived. All right. You might have to look at this more than one time. I gave you flicks and flashes of a lot of different things and scenarios. It's up to you to basically go out and research this information to find out how true it is. Once you find out how true it is, then you will start to believe the things that I speak to you. So go out there and look at it. Take a look at it. Okay. Again, I would like to thank all of you for watching my video. Um, this is going to be up under um, how to, the topic, how to build a business mindset. Okay. But it's going to be state of awareness. Okay. Two. All right. So, um, the reason I'm putting it there because I'm trying to broaden your understanding of what's going on, and so that you have a better perception what direction you need to go. Okay. Again, thank you very much, and have a pleasant remaining of your day.